Hey Buzzheads, Curtis Tucker here with Enid Buzz, back in the studio again today. I have got George Pankonin here, another candidate for mayor. We've got that election coming up February 12th, and again, I've just wanted to kind of get everybody acquainted with you guys, just to know you a little better. So just kind of tell us about yourself, your background, where you're from, and then kind of what your connection with Enid is and how you kind of ended up in Enid, Oklahoma.
Okay, well that's kind of a long one. I was born and raised in South St. Paul, Minnesota. The only lottery I ever won was the one the Selective Service Bureau was doing in 1970.
Lovely.
And I say that tongue-in-cheek because it really did open a lot of doors for me. So I left Minnesota at 19, went in the Air Force, served for 23 years. The first 8 years I was enlisted, and during that period of time got my 4 years of college, applied for commissioning, went through officers training school. And my last job, I was a squadron commander up at Chanute Air Force Base in Illinois.
Oh, nice.
During that time, I got used to serving, and it didn't matter if it might be serving in the military, of course, but it was also serving different Special Olympics competitions that I seen through different areas that I was stationed at, serving the community. Anyway, when it came time to retire, I was offered a job in Enid by Northrop at the time out at the base, and I thought, well, you know, the Selective Service Bureau told me when it was time to join the Air Force. Maybe Northrop should tell me when it's time to leave.
There you go.
And I say that tongue-in-cheek as well, because as it turns out, this is a wonderful community. I was stationed here, one of the assignments from 1988 to 1991.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Left here, went to Chanute to be the commander up there, and when it came time to retire, this is where I chose to do it, because I love this community. It's got such a heart for everybody. I have a son that's developmentally disabled, many people know. So some of the things that I got to do while I was here was to start up the For Our Kids Foundation with Dr. Winery and others. So
Now see, I wasn't aware that you were part of that startup. Wow.
Yeah. So I was one of the charter trustees that helped put that together. Very proud of that. And today we have 60 employees that are developmentally disabled that would be home watching cartoons were it not for our agency. So
Yeah.
Pretty proud of that.
Yeah, that huge bit. That's just a huge benefit to Enid. So kudos to you on that.
Yeah. So other ways that I've served is a lot of people know I'm involved with the Air Force Association and have been for quite some time. In fact, I've served as the chapter president here in Enid. I've been on the board for about 25 years, served as chapter president several times, and have also served as the Oklahoma State president.
Okay.
And served on national committees for Air Force Association at their national conventions in DC. So lots of ways to be able to share. If you're looking for a way to serve, Enid's got plenty of opportunities. It's really not that hard to find something.
I always say, yeah, you know, some people say there's nothing to do in Enid, and then some people say there's, you know, no way to help. It's how hard you search. I mean, if you look around Enid, Oklahoma, there's always something to do, and there's always some way to help, and some way to pitch in, and some way to get involved.
That's true.
Yeah. So what do you do? Are you retired now then?
I'm kind of sort of fully retired. I do a lot of volunteer work. Again, I'm still on the AFA board. I maintain an office out at Vance Air Force Base. I'm the director for the Retiree Activities Office on base.
Okay.
That's a volunteer position. The main thing we do is taxes for retirees and veterans. So last year we completed, provided tax services for 300 families.
Ah, okay.
At no charge.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So another way to serve. It's
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been doing. I was selected to be on the Air Education Training Command Civic Leaders Group. There are 2 of us from the community, from each community that has a base, and we meet with General Quast 2 times a year and have teleconferences with him the other 2 times. So we're meeting with him once a quarter.
Oh, nice.
And it gives us a chance to provide community input to what's going on at places where they have bases and how the community is associated with the base.
Yeah, and we know Enid would really be hurting without Vance Air Force Base, so that connection between Vance and community is huge.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
And I think even more so advanced than at other bases because of the heavy contractor.
Yeah.
If you have a base that's entirely military, then they're entirely mobile. They're moving from one base to the next. But when half of the base is people that live and work next to you and have lived in your community for their whole lives, that's even a bigger bigger impact.
Yeah, very cool. So, and if for the people out there that don't know, and again, I have seen comments on social media that some people don't know all the candidates for mayor. You are currently serving on the city council. So what drove you to get on the city council?
Well, I was asked to run for the Ward 6 commissioner's seat 2 years ago. A lot of people I knew and respected in the community asked me, they wanted to see a change in the leadership in Ward 6, and they asked me if I'd step up for that. And frankly, before that, I never thought about serving in local government. But in the last 2 years, I've found that it's really quite satisfying. It's probably some of the most satisfying volunteer work that I've done.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I thought, I'm not getting enough calls, maybe I should run for mayor.
Well, your phone will be ringing off the hook. I would hope, just again, the stuff that you guys do. So just, so to remind everybody, city council members, councilmen, and mayor are unpaid positions.
Yes.
So again, you say it's a rewarding position. I mean, on a typical, let's say a typical month, how many hours do you guys put in on serving on that?
Well, the meetings are probably, there's 2 meetings a month typically, so that's, if you just count the meeting time, it's probably 6 or 8 hours. But there's usually about 200 pages of stuff to read and digest before each of those meetings.
Yeah.
So when the public watches on TV and they see somebody makes a motion, somebody seconds, there's no discussion, and it passes unanimously, it's like, did they do anything? And
Yeah.
in fact, there's a lot of reading and preparation that goes in way before we ever get to the meeting. So we haven't discussed it with each other before the meeting, but we're well aware of the issues before we get there.
Okay, so there are a lot of hours put in. So
Yeah.
I just want to say kudos to you and all of the members for putting in all those voluntary hours because, and I have thrown out there a question, and I know it was brought up a couple of years ago about commissioners or the mayor actually getting paid, and I would not be against it because of all the time that you guys put in. Not that you guys probably, any of you feel like you need to, but I don't know, maybe in the future it might attract, maybe more people to, because there are some wards this election that are going unopposed. And so maybe if there was an incentive, maybe more people would run for office or something.
Yeah, I agree. I'm retired military and certainly not wealthy, but I can afford to spend some time giving back now. And I agree with you. I don't know that I'm not interested in myself receiving any compensation, but I think if we're out there and if it were available, I think we'd have some people that can't afford to volunteer their time and forego wages to be able to meet the demands of the office. And if that door would be opened by a small compensation, then I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah, well, I would too, because like you said, I have seen people post as well that, I can't run because I have to work, and maybe that could help offset some of that. So, pretty neat. Now, if you were elected, is there anything specific that maybe you already have in mind or that you're looking at that you might want to get, one big thing or something that you might want to get accomplished in your first 4 years as mayor?
Yeah. I'd like to open the lines of communication. I mean, you can watch the city council meetings, go and attend in person if you wish. If you don't have the time to do that, you can watch it on Enid television network.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different ways to be able to find out what's going on in town, but that's really one-way communication. It's seeing things happen from one side, but not really having the ability to question anything. If elected mayor, what I'd like to do is encourage each one of the commissioners to have town hall meetings within their wards.
Okay.
And become more familiar and provide a two-way avenue of communication between the commissioners and the constituents that they represent. And every year the mayor does a state of the city. What I'd propose to do at the end of the state of the city is continue that for another hour and a half and right on the end of that, put a town hall meeting with the mayor.
Oh, nice.
So I'd like to see those forums go into effect. Frequency would depend on probably at least once a year, but maybe even quarterly if there's enough interest, especially within the wards, to be able to do the ones with the wards. So I think that's something that we could do, and it would really increase the communication going both ways.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you brought that up because I have actually heard that, I think from the other candidates as well, is public forums. And I know that I have posted stuff in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think, a lot of times when I try to post things and you guys do have things, turnout is usually low. But I think part of that is just because the word just doesn't get out. So, anything that I can do as Enid Buzz to help you guys get the word out so we can get more people. And you all, if you're watching this video now, you've got to kind of look. You can't. Everything's not going to be fed. I think media-wise, we're getting a little lazy because of Facebook. But if you want to know what's going on with the city, you need to go to the City of Enid's Facebook page. You need to go to their website, read their press releases, and then you really will know what's going on.
Right.
And then you can attend and speak up.
And I really appreciate your efforts with Enid Buzz, because you get the word out a lot quicker, and it's. I think the community sometimes thinks things get filtered. If you go into the to the city's website, it's already been brushed, somebody's already gone through it.
Yeah.
And I think they feel like they're getting the no kidding what's going on word from you, so I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And I try. On all issues, I try not to. I hope people don't know what side of an issue I'm on. I hope with the election coming up, nobody knows. I just try to. I'm just trying to get the information out there. So, and that was going to be another one of my questions was how could we bridge that gap of getting government and the community closer together? Because being Enid Buzz, I do get a lot of the complaints, and people ask me how come the West Willow's not striped, or how come there's potholes and stuff. Is there anything that you can see where there might be, other than the town halls, where people could, and I think maybe they've started something online, where people can, and we might just remind people, tell them how, let's say they do have a large pothole in front of their street right now, what can they do about that?
You could call the city manager and he will respond to that. You could call the Public Works Department and find out what they're doing. If you don't know exactly who to go to, they'll go to the city manager, or if you're more comfortable with your commissioner, go to your commissioner. I'll tell you that as commissioner, what's going to happen is we're probably going to go back to the city manager anyway.
Okay.
But maybe we get a faster reply than somebody that he doesn't know.
Well, and I think that's why they ask me. I think they think sometimes I'll get a faster reply, and I'm the same way. I'm usually going to turn around and ask Gerald Gilbert anyway, because he's going to know the person that has the answer.
He is, and in fact, he's charged with day-to-day management of the city activity, so that's who we should be going through. If you try to go directly to departments, or if one of the commissioners starts trying to go to different individual city departments, you kind of undermine his authority to be able to do his job.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's running things for the city. That's what we hire him to do, and we need to get out of his way and let him do it. And he can provide the answers that we need.
Yeah, and just to give you guys a little kind of inside info, I know they are currently redoing the website, try to make it maybe less confusing, less amount of stuff on there, and also working on some other avenues of getting information out to everybody quicker and better. So might be a great time to get in there as mayor and kind of be a part of that deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else? I mean, any other? The other candidates that I talked to were basically grew up in Enid, so they had a little more of history and things that they remembered about Enid. So tell us about, just real quick, the first time that you were Enid. What made you feel like it would be a good choice to come back to Enid?
I think just the friendliness of the community. I don't think I've been to. While I was in the Air Force, I was stationed at 9 different bases and traveled on temporary duty to probably 50 others. But I've never seen a community quite as embracing as Enid, Oklahoma.
Oh, nice.
It really is very nice, and that's why a lot of people do retire here. If you go out and look at some of the contractors that are working out at the base, many of them have retired military and decided to move back to Enid. I think Enid's very big-hearted, as I mentioned before, with 4 kids, and Special Olympics that's going on. We got a polar plunge coming up here, March 2nd. Don't want it to get too warm.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been participating in that the last few years. In fact, the last 3 years I've won the coveted oldest plunger.
Oh, you have? Oh, nice.
But it's a great cause. I started a Special Olympics team for a few years ago. Oftentimes what happens with Special Olympics is it's done during high school, so they'll use recess and gym time to be able to talk with students and coach them in the sports that are coming up. The school system kind of take care of the registration for the students. Once they graduate, that's gone.
Yeah.
And if mom and dad are working, then their son or daughter may not be involved. So I started a team called Enid High Alumni, and I have 15 athletes now.
Oh, wow.
But that's what it's for, is to try and pick up where what happens after they graduate from school. But I'm not the only one doing that. This community is full of people that are trying to help in different ways.
Yeah, and we've got Night to Shine coming up, so there's a lot of stuff you can, and again, one of the purposes of Enid Buzz is because there is for our kids, there is the ball field, there is Night to Shine, there's so many things going on that I hoped Enid Buzz was going to be one place where you could go and get information on all of those things at one time. So get on enidbuzz.com, and we do have information. I know Night to Shine, just a couple of days, we're still looking for volunteers, for buddies. They may still be looking. So if anybody out there is looking to volunteer, or if you want an evening that's just going to melt your heart, you know, you got to be a part of that. So big thing. So, and I appreciate all the stuff that you do. Enid is, I think, big-hearted when it comes to that segment of the society. You know, growing up, we had the Enid State School, and so I grew up with my neighbors. You know, were patients out there or family members, and you know, they're just part of the community like anybody else, and so we appreciate everything that you do. And I'm glad that I found out about the For Our Kids thing. I had no idea about that. Yeah. So kudos to you and Dr. Winery and everybody out there. So anyway, just
one final message.
Yeah, one final message. You bet.
I would encourage a lot of times when we have these city elections, there's a very low turnout for voters. Let me encourage, do me one favor. I would certainly like your vote, but if you don't give me your vote, I understand that. Please vote for somebody. Show up at the polls and exercise your right to vote. It's one of the things that I served for 23 years in the Air Force, and one of the things that I really believe is important. Yeah,
I think that's probably the most important message we've talked about today. And again, and I've been stressing this as well, and that's why you know, I'm doing all these interviews with the candidates. I'm going to be at the live KNID event. I'm wanting to get the word out. My goal, I'm going to look at the numbers from the last election. My goal is to get more people to vote in this election than they did the last one. Again, it's not going to be a glamorous election. It's basically for mayor and Ward 5, I believe. But look, it's an important election. It's the person that's going to be leading, that's going to be the face of the city of Enid for the next 4 years. And again, if your candidate doesn't win, please back the candidate that does win, and let's all pull together with that candidate. And I just see so much possibility for Enid that I think all the people that have been in so far they've got us going, and I just think we're headed in the right direction, and we just need to continue that on. So. So kudos to you for running. Good luck, and thanks, George.
All right.
You guys, February 12th, Tuesday, get out and vote, and we'll see you guys at the polls. Thanks, George.
Thank you.